Hello, and welcome back To Lead is to Learn, the podcast where we explore the dynamic world of leadership together. Whether you're a returning listener or joining us for the first time, I'm truly grateful you've chosen us as your companion upon your leadership development journey. Our mission here is simple: to empower you with the knowledge, skills, and insights needed to excel in leadership. But before we dive into today's episode, I want to express my sincere thanks to each one of you. Your trust in us means the world, and it's an honour to be part of your growth. Now, speaking of growth, did you know that To Lead is to Learn is brought to you by Lambda Solutions? At Lambda, we specialise in leadership development and coaching, and we're passionate about helping individuals like you become the best leaders you can be. If you're looking to take your leadership skills to the next level, or if your organisation is seeking guidance to achieve its leadership goals, I invite you to explore what we have to offer. Simply visit our website at www.thelambda.co.uk to discover more about how we can assist you directly. Thank you for being part of our community. Now, let's dive into today's episode and continue learning and growing together. In today's special episode, we will be talking to an experienced leader about their experience of leadership, challenges they have faced, and any thoughts and visions for the future.
You ever think, ever, about becoming CEO? March 16th, 2020. I'll never forget it. The worst day of my life. We got shut down. You cannot go see people. I may not win here. My leadership team may not do it. And again, I'm not looking to beat you. I'm looking to beat myself. Best version of me. If that's my culture, then it's almost impossible to reinvent the wrong. How are you not then successful? It's almost impossible, right? I don't serve others at a cost to myself. I'll hear a woman say something, the man will say something, the exact same thing, but somebody will call them out. I think a lot of leaders, and I don't know why, they don't do that well. You have a responsibility to become the best version of you. I love that. Yeah, I'm just making my own note here. Your call, but if you don't, this is your law of the lid.
Without further ado, here's Vera Quinn, CEO of Cydcor. The question I ask everyone just to start off with my podcast is that everybody has a story as to how they got to their position. Now, I've done a little bit of research about yours, but can you share with our listeners your story, please?
It starts a long, long time ago. I think where you come from tells a lot about who you are. I think it just shapes who you are. My parents are immigrants. They moved to Toronto, Canada, many, many, many years ago. And their philosophy was, we came to this country to have and provide a better life for all of you. So you better, all of you, four of us, better figure out how to have a better life than we did. And that was ingrained, like in our DNA. My dad, his trade was fixing cars, and he became an entrepreneur, which is also a crazy, wild story. Played the lottery, won $10,000, opened up his car mechanic shop on the Danforth, which is nuts. I mean, what a nuts story. So I grew up in this family where there was this entrepreneur and worked 6-7 days a week, and the whole family would help him with this business. I was in school, I thought I'd be a lawyer or a doctor. I think maybe not a doctor. I don't love blood, but I loved arguing. I was like, maybe I'll be a lawyer. Lawyer sounds good. They make lots of money. But I answered an ad in a newspaper my first year in college. And it was to do door-to-door, face-to-face sales. And it was a massive risk. And what I learned was, just through that whole interview process and going through the summer there, was, wow, there's this world where if you bet on yourself and you're willing to put in the time and effort and the skill, you can make as much money as you want. You can provide opportunity to other people, and you can really take control of your own destiny. And that's how I started with this business, this direct sales industry. I moved to recruiting. I ran my own business as a hub manager. And there was an opportunity, again, 26 years old, just had a baby, to move to California and run operations, which I didn't even know what that meant, Chris. I didn't even know what running operations meant at this business, Cydcor. They were moving their headquarters. And I worked with a gentleman, and still do. He's the executive chairman, Gary Polson. Amazing guy, great business acumen. I didn't grow up with that kind of business experience, right? I didn't see people like that in my life. And I thought, I'm just going to move here, 3-year visa, really learn, get immersed in what business meant, and learn from this incredible person. We had an incredible CFO, Ron Nathanson. Jim Majeski ran just the clients and, the whole, how do we grow the business? I thought I'd be here 3 years, move back home. My visa is expiring. And I remember Gary saying, what do you think? You staying or you going? I said, I'm out. I have a whole family in Toronto. We don't move away. We are Eastern European immigrants. My whole family lives within 4 blocks of each other. My brother, my sisters, and my parents. Like, no, I'm going back. You ever think, ever, about becoming CEO? And I said, no, actually, thought never crossed my mind. But then there was that seed. I thought, I don't know much about being a CEO. And I spent the next 15 years learning. I went to classes here in California, whether it was Pepperdine or whether it was SC or whether it was UCLA. It's like, okay, well, what is this? And what is this? I remember taking a finance class. Okay, what does that mean? And I spent 15 years figuring out what it means to be a CEO of a $300 million business. And that's how I'm here.
What do you think they saw in you to plant that seed that then led to the 15 years worth of learning and going towards this position of CEO?
It's a great question. I don't know. I ask him this question. We see each other often, right? He says, you were a learner. I know that if you put your mind to something, you would do the work to figure out how to get that thing done. So I think that was one thing. I'm really ambitious. I have another philosophy, and I think my parents instilled it. You have a responsibility to become the best version of you. When it's done, when it's all said and done, when I'm finished, hopefully I live till, 100, another 50 years, I hope. When I'm 100 years old, my responsibility for the life I got was to be the best version of me. And I live that way. So it's never good enough for me. It's like, okay, what more? How could I do that better? How could I be a better person? How do I show up in my family better? How do I show up in my community better? So I think that's a big piece of, it was just always, okay, what do I need to do more of? How do I be better? And if you own a business, which Gary does, right? You kind of want somebody like that to lead, right? How do I make the business better for the people in the business? And every day, I'm obsessed with that question. I have a pretty good spirit. I think people like being around me. I'm fun. So maybe that helped too. It was fun to figure out the problems. It was fun to go through the successes. It was fun to be shoulder to shoulder. I have I think, a good spirit in that way. But, maybe ask him on your show. Maybe he'll have a better answer. I think those are the big 3.
So you mentioned there about successes and having fun through the successes. Were there any setbacks along the way that really stick in your mind?
Yeah, I wish I looked at life that way. I wish I did. I don't, right? They're the big lessons I learned in my life, but you're supposed to learn those things, right? Get married. I got divorced young. Somebody could say that's a setback. But today I look at my life. I've been married for 17 years to my husband, Sean. I kind of think, thank God, right? So I don't look at life that way. It could have been a setback that I didn't have business acumen when I moved here. And, oh, crap, CEO, that's going to take 15 years to go learn those skills. I don't look at it that way. I just look at it like, hey, okay, get to getting. COVID could have been a setback. We're face-to-face business. We got shut down. You cannot go see people. And now I just think my business today, 3 years later, we're going to have the best revenue profitability year we've ever had. So I just look at, what do you need to learn? You have something on your website that I love, the leader learn, experiment, adapt, develop, empower, reflect, right? So there's no setback in there. There's nothing that goes wrong. Oh, this thing happened. How do I feel about it? I get to choose. What I learn from it. Okay, how do I experiment? Do something different or better or more of? Okay, how do I adapt? How do I develop myself? How do I empower other people? And then again, I got to go back to reflecting so I can learn. I don't know. I just loved it. I loved how you explained that on your website. I was like, yeah. So setbacks for me, I don't know. I'm not giving you a good answer. I just don't look at it that way.
It's a good way to look at it. Spin each setback to be an opportunity.
Well, they are, if you look at, they are though. Again, it could have been the worst thing in the world being a single parent for 6 years. It wasn't. It wasn't. What an incredible experience I had with my child by myself. And then I met this beautiful man that I got to marry. And then we created a family. I'm like, thank you, God, or whatever you believe in. Thank you.
You've been with this company now, the same company, for 25 years. That's incredible in the modern sort of world where everyone sort of like just moves around. Seems to be like every 5 years someone goes to another business to get advancement. What is the benefit to you of staying with one company and just working your way up?
So it would have been different if I had the same job the whole time. Okay, then I think I would have to move because I'm a learner, right? I don't think that would have been for me. All right, I'm in the field. I learned face-to-face sales. I learned how to build a team. Now I'm recruiting for one of these small businesses. Then I run my own little business. That was a piece of my life. Then I'm working at Cydcor, very kind of entry level, figuring out the billing and payments. Then I moved to California. I'm running operations. I mean, that was its old, what is that? What does that even mean? Then I moved into clients and negotiation. Then I had to figure out how to run full-scale operations for a $200 million business. Oh, now I got to be CRO. If I had stayed in one role, I think that would have been different. But I kept learning. Our whole business is about growth and development. So our philosophy is promote from within. We're going to move you. We're going to give you different opportunities. We're going to expose you to different pieces of the business. I don't quite care that your discipline is HR or not HR, right? If that's what you're interested in doing, let's go get you the skills and resources, because if people's your thing and you know our culture and you know the spirit of the business, then we can teach you how to be a people leader. I can teach you how to negotiate. So the whole spirit of the business is around promote from within. But the biggest reason I'm here, I grew up with people here. My leadership team, I think 10 years. And I believe life is who you do it with, not necessarily what you do. We're not going to remember, that awesome meeting. We are going to remember who we did the awesome meeting with. And 25 years later, I have some incredible relationships, like probably some of my closest friends I work with.
There are a lot of people that, as they get promotions and they progress, they find that they struggle with the relationship that they have with people. And you've said about you've gone 10 years with the same people and you've grown together. How have you navigated that change of the dynamics as you've all moved up?
Yeah, and it's harder, I think, when you're younger. It was really hard for me. There was a big ego piece in there, right? I'm the boss. Okay. So I had to navigate through that. Hey, it isn't about me and my ego. You have to kind of meet people where they are. I'm an incredibly ambitious person. I push myself. I expected everybody to be that way. So then my leadership style was, hey, Chris, why aren't you doing more? Chris, you have so much potential. Chris, work harder. And you're like, yo, get off me. Like, I'm good where I am. So I had to figure all those things out when I was younger. Today, and I wish I'd known this then, I am here to serve you. So you tell me what your goals are. You tell me what you want to accomplish. You tell me how ambitious you are. Then my job is to hold you accountable to those goals. So then there is no ego, right? as a CEO, it's my job to hold you accountable to your goals. You tell me what you want. Now, when you are doing the right thing, I'm going to let you know. You're not doing the right thing, we're going to have a conversation. But you already know my intent. So it isn't about me. It isn't about my ego. It's about what you told me you want. It's about what you told me you wanted a year, 2 years, 5 years from now. It's about what you told me you wanted your life to be. And I'm just here, hold up a mirror, get you some resources, think through what the plan is for the next year or two for you. So that's my job. And when I switched to I'm here for you, a lot easier to have the conversation. What's there to navigate? Right? And some of those conversations go like, hey, you're not doing the job for this organization. And I really care about you, but it's not working out. You're not going to get what you want here. And that's okay. So let's figure out a way to get you to move on. Some of those conversations have been super positive where people are like, thanks for pushing me. This is awesome. Great.
When do you think that shift happened, that shift to serving? Was there a key moment when that arose?
No, I have had the benefit, like I said, of working with probably potentially one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. And I remember asking him, I'm 20 something years old. And he talked about servant leadership and you're just here for your people and you're in the business to make it better. And don't think so much about yourself. Think about others. I was like, what are you talking about? Who are you? Mother Teresa? Like, what are you even saying to me? And I asked him the same question. Were you always like this? I've always been like this, he said. Okay, so I'm quite aware that there was a moment in time when I wasn't like this. Now I feel more like that. I don't think it was, December 22nd, 2002. I don't think it was that. I think slowly but surely, the culture of the business, I think the culture of the people that I've been around, the leaders I've been around. Also, I work with a lot of clients. It's not so much their culture. I think I'm like, hey, this works in our business. This makes people successful and it makes me feel good. So I'd rather this than focus on me or what's good for me.
It's interesting that you've brought up there the culture that you work within has kind of instilled in you, but then you had the contrasting culture that you've had. I guess for some people, that contrasting culture might be moving from one organization to another and then enjoying the culture there. What do you do now to ensure that that culture is still there?
Well, I just think it's so ingrained. We talk a lot about culture. We have behaviors that we value. We celebrate those behaviors we value. The people that do well in our business on the sales side and at Cydcor, those are the people doing the right things. I just think it's really ingrained. We talk about it a lot, but I would say this. We are a lead by example business. So I can say whatever I want to say. It's about my actions and it's about what people see. And there have been times, Chris, we have this behavior we value. Let's say it's respect and get every brain in the game. And we're in a meeting, somebody says something, and I say, I don't think that's a good idea. Am I modeling the culture? No. But somebody on my team will tell me, hey, that doesn't look like modeling the culture. Do you think this person will ever speak up in a meeting again if that's your reaction? Like, crap, no. Let me go apologize. So that's how we hold each other accountable. People will call you out if you do something that's counterculture. Hey, you didn't let me finish. Hey, this is a tough conversation. Your authority or where you sit in the organization doesn't mean that I'm not allowed to say what I want to say. Yep, you're right. Sorry.
There's a huge amount of self-awareness needed to do that.
Yeah. I think also courage. Right? I think also courage. We're not perfect people. We know we're not perfect people. I'm not looking to create the perfect person or leader. I don't believe that they exist. I believe every leader has incredible strengths. If those strengths are built on, they'll become better. And they just have to fix a couple of the things that are holding them back. But I'm not looking to be great at everything. I can't be. I want to be great at the things I'm great at, keep pouring into that, fix some of the things and the skills I need to learn. But I'm probably never going to be the best financial planner. I'm just not. There's nothing you can do. There's no class you can put me through. You could beat me from now until nothing. So let me go hire that person. Let them be the best at that. So I'm not looking to be perfect. And if I'm not looking to be perfect, then I can be more aware. But if I'm constantly looking around me and I have to be great at everything, if that's my culture, then it's almost impossible to admit when you're wrong. Right? It's impossible for you to say, I'm not good at this, because the expectation is you have to be good at everything. And I just don't think it is here.
I mean, you've almost sort of like hinted there that the perfect leader is imperfect.
Well, with the perfect person's imperfect, right? Perfection doesn't exist, I don't think. I'll tell you the story. I'm probably 27, 28 years old, and I do this speech. We have this sales organization. I think I killed it, Chris. I come back. I was like, so good, blah, blah, blah. And a meeting with Gary. I said, what'd you think? Didn't you think that was amazing? He just looked at me. So nice. He leans over as if he's going to tell me a secret. He said, you're not perfect. I lean back and I'm like, what kind of horrible coaching and confidence building is this? And he said, and everybody knows it. Now, I probably didn't speak to him for a couple of weeks. I probably was very angry with him. But I will tell you, after that, I was like, oh, I don't have to be perfect. Everybody knows I'm not perfect. And when I started thinking about the people I really admired, I look at them and I'm like, you're not perfect at a lot of things. You're not great at a lot of things. But the things you're great at, wow. Wow. Oh, so that's okay. I need to be great at the things that I'm great at. And there are going to be things that I'm not. And that's okay.
I guess it's part of the culture. You need to make sure that someone who comes new to Cydcor and they want to be within that culture, that's an important lesson for them to learn as well.
Yeah, and there have been times, Chris, we've hired people and we haven't done it right. You have to have the answer. You have to be perfect. You can't make a mistake. Ugh, that's really not going to work here. We're a learning culture where people are going to make mistakes. We're okay with it. Now, don't make the same mistake 10 times. Please learn, right? But it's okay. So we've hired people in and it has not worked. And even that's a learning. Okay, great. Then how does our interview process get better? How does our recruiting process get better? What questions do we need to ask to make sure that we ferret this out in a different way? We continue to learn. And some people hate that culture. And that's okay too. There are other organizations you can go be at where being perfect, knowing everything, being right all the time, that is valued. You should go there.
So it's interesting what you've kind of said there about your culture, because I made a note earlier in about attributes that you had that maybe led to you being CEO. And the first one you said was you're a continuous learner. You always learn. And you said there that the culture there at Cydcor is about learning, ongoing learning. So are there other personal values that you have that resonate with the culture that you're within?
Oh, yeah, I think family, and not like in the meaning of we just spent time with our families, but we're people helping people business. Okay, so within our business, we help people. Cydcor team members help each other. We go into the community and help. People are the differentiator in our business, right? There are a lot of ways to sell. A lot of ways to sell. We do it face to face because we believe that the impact that a person to person interaction has, that is a powerful thing. So the concept of people helping people, the concept of competition and winning. And again, I'm not looking to beat you. I'm looking to beat myself. Best version of me. And we're a sales organization. So if your best week is $10,000 in sales, okay, how do you beat that? What do you need to learn? How do you grow and develop so you beat that? So competition, growth, development, perseverance, resilience. Life is not always going to be easy. And it's not the easy path that I believe gets you the greatest joy, the greatest satisfaction, the greatest happiness. That's a big piece of our culture. You're going to have to fight through some things.
Did you know that Lambda Solutions is your gateway to unlocking the secrets of effective leadership, as well as exploring leadership psychology? We not only have this podcast where we explore some of the most topical concepts within leadership and connect you with the wisdom and experience of a community of leaders, we also have a growing treasure trove of leadership wisdom just waiting to be discovered. I would love to invite you to explore the Lambda Library, our very own hub of thought-provoking articles and blogs, carefully crafted to spark your imagination, challenge your thinking, and ignite your leadership potential. The best part? It's completely free, and we are continually looking to update our content to keep you engaged and informed. It's all part of our dynamic journey of learning, and we can't wait for you to join us. Whether you're a budding leader, a seasoned professional, or simply looking to enhance your leadership skills, our content caters to your growth. We would also like to extend our hand. If you have a message to share and would like to submit an article to our library, simply get in touch through the contact form on our website. We would love to add your wisdom to our leadership library. Are you ready to begin your exploration? Simply visit our website at www.thelambda.co.uk and navigate to the Lambda Library. You'll find our growing library of leadership articles waiting for you. You can then add us to your bookmarks to supplement your sources of consistent, high-quality leadership content. Discover insights, uncover strategies, and elevate your leadership game. So you've talked about some of the onboarding bits that you have going on then. Learning and competition and this family ethos that you have. If they're really key to the culture that you have there, what do you do within your onboarding to try and make sure that the right people are the ones that you take on? How do you assess for them?
Yeah. It's different in different roles, different in different places in the organization. We have in the field, everybody starts as a sales rep. Everybody starts as entry-level sales rep. We believe that that's important because you have to work your way up to become an entrepreneur and run your own business. You have to understand what the sales rep goes through. So that whole process, when you create an entrepreneur at the end of the day, that whole onboarding process creates that leadership in the field. At Cydcor, it's a little different, right? Because we don't have that intense, foundational face-to-face sale, right? We're the back end, we're the broker. Here, we do a lot of screening. Our recruitment team, I think we're really clear on what is this job? What is it going to entail? And it's not just the technical skills. It's almost like, who do you have to be like? Have to have a good attitude. You don't have a good attitude. And there are a lot of people who don't. I'm totally okay with it. Working here, probably not good for you. So those are things we're very proactive in telling people. We have panels of interviewers, different people within the organization that we know how to interview. I'll give you a good example. I love everybody. I will find something to love about almost everybody. So my bias is towards finding the good in people. So while that's great, I make people feel good. From a interviewing perspective, I need a counterbalance. And my counterbalance is going to be the person that asks the tough questions. My counterbalance is going to be the person who digs a little deeper. My counterbalance is going to be the person that doesn't make everything like so happy and loving. Okay, so when I interview somebody, I have that person also interview them. And I'm actually thinking of two people at Cydcor. Like, Rich, you interview them because he's tougher. He's just more like, it's like you always just see the good. I'm like, I do. I really do. So I need that balance. And for every role at Cydcor, we have 3 or 4 interviews. We have the counterbalance. We try and get those people in the process. And then if we can for the job, we make them do the job. We pay them and say, give us a couple hours of your time. Do this job here in this culture, and then tell us how it feels. So we can see them do the work. And then they could say, oh, this sucks. Okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thanks for your 2 hours. Or, wow, this is great. Okay, great. Now let's go through our onboarding and training.
Do you have like a performance review system that keeps that as well? Or is it something separate that you do?
No, we do. We do what we call monthly PDPs. So whether you're here for a month, 2 months, 5 years, or like me, 25 years, you have what do I want to accomplish by the end of this year? What's my development plan? If I look in the organization, or what kind of skills, or where do I want to be in 5 years? Your manager is responsible for creating a plan with you. And every month we sit and we meet on that plan. Hey, Vera, you were supposed to listen to this podcast. This podcast was going to give you some information about, growing your skill in people management. Okay. Talk to me about it. What have you implemented? So every month you have a meeting with your manager to talk through your development. 2 times a year, mid-year, end of year, we have a performance review. So you should know where you sit. And our performance review is needs help, gets the job done, crushes it. Those are our 3 criteria. We have 8 competencies, and I think everybody in our organization knows where they stand. There aren't a whole lot of surprises here. Like, hey, I'm doing great, or I need some help, or these are the 4 things I need to go learn to be better in my role, or I'm screwing up, and if I don't fix this, I'm out.
I like that you've got the monthly cycle as well as this twice every year cycle as well. That's a lot of time that the leaders within your organization have to devote to their team.
Yeah.
What training do they go through to be able to do that process? Or is it a case of they've been promoted, they then just reflect what they've experienced themselves? Is there courses they go on? Do you do internal training, or is it just learn on the job?
Well, we do a lot of learning on the job, right? So because we promote from within, they see the example from their managers. We have that. There are certain core concepts that we teach here, DISC, crucial conversations, situational leadership. So we have like core tenets to how we manage people, and the whole organization goes through those. But Chris, what has happened, and this is we're trying to figure this out, is we're really great up here with the culture and the process. As we're bringing on new managers or people are getting promoted, here we're not as tight as we should be, right? That newer manager, we're talking a lot about how do we get this tighter? What is the training? Where do they need to spend more time? Because when we all came up through the business was smaller, and we were all together all the time. Now we have half our organization remote because they deal with the clients and our sales teams. So now we're not all together. We don't see each other because it's what you see, and then you go do that. A lot of it is I'm in the meeting. Oh, I saw how somebody did that. Okay, let me go try that. So we're struggling a little bit with this mid-level. How do we make sure that it's strong for the next generation? And if you have any ideas, again, I was looking at your website. I was like, oh, maybe there's something here. Yeah, we need to get tighter there. Up here, I think we're great because we've all been in it so long, but our newer managers, we have to figure out.
Where do you think the disconnect happens? At what stage? Because it's interesting. You talked about like the top end, you're good. It's the middle management. Like, where is your barrier between the top where you're saying, oh, it's great and it's working here, to it's not quite functioning right there? Is there like a level?
I think it's the seeing. Right? I think because if I just look at our managers or our leaders, right, our executive team, we're together a lot. We saw each other a lot. We were in the trenches a lot. We went to the meetings together. We traveled together, right? Now we have people like my CRO. He's in Las Vegas. He's a killer leader. If he was in California all the time, right, my managers, they'd see him. They'd watch him work. They would learn more from him. So I think the disconnect is, again, half our organization is remote. And this is Cydcor headquarters. And then COVID, I don't think helped. We were almost a year and a half remote. Everybody's in their bubble. That's, I think, the disconnect. It's we can't see each other. And then we had that break. And we didn't do a good enough job, I think, and that's okay. We'll fix it. And then you just have new leaders, which is fine too. But I think it's not our people. It's not our new managers. It's our system. something we have to fix in there.
If you were blue sky thinking here and you were to think, what would you do differently to fix that then?
I'd bring everybody here. Because I look at my culture, my sales teams, they haven't lost that, right? They were apart for a little while during COVID, a few months, right? Trained every day, did the Zoom calls every day. I mean, they just kept on honing their skills, sharpening their saw. And then when they came back, everybody was like, okay, this is the job. This is the job we know we have to do. And they just came back, hit the ground running. At Cydcor, we didn't do that as well. Now, again, that's okay. But that is something that to fix it, I'd say, hey, let's do 6 months, everybody together. We're constantly collaborating. We're bringing our new managers to meetings that maybe they wouldn't get access to, because then you just see, you learn. We're sitting in every development meeting, those monthly one-on-one meetings. So we know what are you saying to your new person? What are you saying to you? Okay, great. Hey, let me coach you. And then I think we get that mid-level at a different skill set.
So that's blue sky thinking. That's the 6 months together. What's a realistic, if you were to bring people together, then you were to bring them all there, what's a realistic length of time that you could achieve?
I don't know. We're going to bring everybody together in January. We're going to be together probably for 3 days, and it'll be morning to night. But we're not doing the things, I think, that move the needle to teach the new managers what they need to learn.
Mm.
It's not a class. It's not me talking at you and telling you what it means to be a manager. It's you sitting with me as I'm having a conversation with somebody. You're watching me. You're asking me, hey, why did you ask that? Why did you say that? Why did you coach them this way? At least for me, that's how I learn. And I find that's how a lot of people learn. Mm. I'm watching you, Chris. Let's say you're having this monthly one-on-one. You're coaching somebody and you're talking to them about resources and you're talking to them about their performance and you're trying to hold them accountable. And I'm just like you're doing right now, writing notes. Okay, let me ask this question. Let me ask this question. And then we sit down and we break it down. Hey, Chris, why'd you ask that question that way? Hey, how do you think Vera felt when you talked to her about that? Hey, what's another way you could have approached that situation? Mm. And that's the coaching people need to get better, right? You can't inspect what you don't see.
You've got these 3 days. What are you doing over those 3 days, just out of interest?
What are we doing for those 3 days? We'll probably do a lot of department meetings. So departments that don't necessarily have a lot of time together. We're going to share best practices across the big business items that we have for 2024, right? What are the goals? Hey, how are we going to work together? I'm hoping, although I may not win here, my leadership team may not do it. Where are the places that suck in the business, and can we get people to just talk about how we make it better? Right? Like, where are we screwing up? Cross-departmentally, what is causing pain for people in the business, and how do we fix that? So hopefully that happens. But those are hard conversations to have in 3 days. Really hard conversations. And they're conversations that open up Pandora's box. So we may not want to do that for 3 days. We're coming off a killer year. We're going into a very aggressive year. We want people to be excited and motivated. Sometimes those conversations doesn't make them feel good. And sometimes organizations stay away from those conversations. But, I have a vote. So I'm hoping that's what we're going to do.
That's a one-time thing that's going to happen 3 days. Are you going to follow up then, just to make sure, like, bring people back together on another time for another 3 days?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we do. We do monthly company meetings where we talk about how the business is going. We highlight, hey, these are the big projects we're working on, or we screwed up here. This is what we learned. So on a monthly basis, everybody sees each other, but that's Zoom. We have an event, a sales event, where half the company goes probably 4 times in the year. Okay. And then we do a mid-year for everybody to come back together. Now, our departments, they get together probably 2-3 times a year. Now, the departments that work here at Cydcor, obviously they see each other all the time, and they're probably the carriers of, okay, here are the things that we worked on. Let's get small teams together so we can bring some things to conclusion, or we can figure out how to continue to train this to the whole organization. We really try, but this could be my fault or my leadership lid. When people are together, magic happens. It is the conversation that you overhear when somebody's on the phone. It is the frustration. You hear one of your teammates and they're like, man, you're really frustrated. What's going on? Oh, this just happened. Okay, let's call so-and-so and let's try and fix it. Right? When somebody's sitting alone, sometimes you don't hear that stuff. You can't fix the things that don't work in the business.
I mean, you've highlighted one of the key challenges I think a lot of organizations are going through, which is this new challenge that comes with remote working and dispersed teams and that lack of connection that people have. I think you've got a really good structure in place from what you've just described to me of bringing people together and these regular meetings. It is unfortunate with the Zoom group meetings, you don't get those side conversations that happen and things like that. But you've got the structure in place, in my view, to be able to work through this. But you've already identified it's those side conversations you need. It's those difficult conversations. Once you've spent 5 days, 6 days with each other, you can be like, okay, this really is grinding us to a halt.
I know we have this big problem in our business where we have the leadership that run our programs, right? So they have a client and, they're responsible for working with the sales teams to get the numbers for the clients and their bonuses. They're sales, right? So it's like motivate, get the bonus, get the performance. Well, my finance team gets that bonus maybe 2 days sometimes before they have to pay it. So I look at this team here and they're like, I'm going to kill these guys. I can't execute this bonus in 2 days' notice. We know this is a challenge. But when they all get together, they hang out, they want to build the relationship. It's not long enough to fix the problem. And that's just one thing I know about. I'm sure there are hundreds I don't.
So it's time that's really the limiting factor.
Well, it's understanding your priorities, what's really important. Maybe it isn't. If it was maybe the biggest priority, would the right people get together in a room to fix it? Maybe there's just other priorities. Then how do you go about fixing it? You've probably got to spend time, understand the root cause, figure out, do we have the right systems and processes in place? Yes, no, I don't know. And then what do you do to unwind or build that? And then the third thing is, to me, it's just, okay, is there the courage to have the conversation?
And you have the right culture to have that courage to really have those conversations. Everything you've told me, you have a very courageous culture.
At certain levels, I think, right? I think, but if you're a new person and something's driving you nuts, doesn't matter what we tell you the culture is. Do you have the courage to say, this is dumb? Why do we do this? How can we fix this?
And they've got to feel that culture coming down through the chain.
Yeah, and they have to not hear somebody say, it's always been this way, you're never going to change it.
The worst words ever in any organization.
Brutal. You're just like, oh. It's interesting. It really is. It really is interesting, solving organizational problems.
I genuinely think that's a conversation that's being had in many boardrooms across the world right now with the remote teams. It's how do we keep the culture when we're not together? How do we keep instilling that? How do we onboard new people so that the future leaders are going to have this culture? And that's an ongoing problem that everyone's trying to fix right now. At Lambda Solutions, we don't just explore leadership, we aim to elevate it. I would like to share something extraordinary, our roadmap for your leadership journey, both personally and professionally. Whether you're an individual leader seeking growth or an organization striving for excellence, Lambda Solutions can help you along your journey towards leadership excellence. Picture this, you as a leader standing at the helm of your organization, surrounded by your fellow leaders, all filled with inspiration and equipped with the tools to steer your teams towards success. That's where we come in. Our leadership consultancy services are designed to transform leaders and with them their organizations into true powerhouses. If you're ready to transform your organization's leadership, visit us at our website www.thelambda.co.uk and explore our consultancy services to see the packages we offer and the possibilities they hold. With us, by your side, we can take your organization on a journey of discovery, growth, and empowerment. And it's there, just waiting for you to embrace the potential. Watch as your team flourishes, drives innovation, and achieves new heights. But that's not all. We understand that every leader is unique, and your growth is deeply personal. This is where our coaching services come in. We can be there as a consistent beacon, guiding you through uncertainty, growth, and any challenges, supporting you in the moments of need along your quest for professional excellence. Imagine having someone by your side, a coach who understands your goals and challenges and empowers you to achieve your full potential. Our leadership coaching services are that guiding hand you've been searching for. Unleash the leader within you with our one-to-one coaching packages, tailored to your aspirations, whether you're an aspiring leader, a seasoned professional, or somewhere in between. We at Lambda Solutions are here to support you on your journey. The time has come for your leadership story to shine. Visit us at www.thelambda.co.uk to explore the world of possibilities with Lambda Solutions. Going back to your personal approach to leadership then, because I find that really interesting that you've sort of moved towards this servant leadership. What underpins servant leadership for you?
So leadership to me is two things. I explain it this way. One is really looking in the mirror and figuring out, why would somebody follow you? And you got to answer that question, I think, every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what about me is worth following? Why would somebody? And I would say 90% of the time, I feel really good about that answer, and I'm gung-ho and I'm doing the work. But then leadership is about looking at the people in the business and saying, how do I get them what they need? That really is what leadership is. If you're CEO, wherever you sit, you got to look at the people in the business and I have to figure out, how do I get them what they need? Sometimes it's a profit outcome. Sometimes it's a client outcome. Sometimes it's a negotiation outcome. Sometimes it's just a lifestyle outcome. So if you focus there, if I focus on giving the people what they need to be successful, whatever their idea of success is, how are you not then successful? It's almost impossible. I guess the only exception would be if you're doing it at your own expense. But if I'm the CEO of a company, I'm not doing it at my own expense, right? If I look at the people in my business and I say, okay, my field leadership, what do you need? What's going to make you super successful? Okay, let's all go figure out how to get that. My Cydcor team, what's going to make us all super successful? How do we have longevity in this business where we're employing, 250 people, and then in the field, there's 5,000 reps? Okay, if I focus there, I focus on the shareholders. Okay, what do they need? What makes them successful? Okay, well, at the end of the year, how do I not win? And that is the underpinning of servant leadership, right? I look at my family. I don't look at my son, what can he do for me? What does he need? What does he need right now? And sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes that's not. Could be tough love. He's 13 years old and he's going a little nuts. Okay, what does he need? Okay, he needs me to have rules and hold him accountable to those rules. That's where he is in his life. Okay. All right, well, I serve him, so I got to go get that done. Not what does he do for me? How does he make me happy? Or how does he make me successful? Now I look at my son, he's 23 years old. We just spent Christmas in Toronto together with my family. It was awesome. It was awesome. He brought his girlfriend, and I'm like, wow, what a great kid. What a great human. I look at my husband. I don't think, what does he do for me? Hey, how do I serve this relationship? What does he need? I'm going to pick up the groceries today. That's my job after work, right? Because he's like, hey, I got some meetings. I'm going to be running. Okay, how do I serve you so that this relationship is successful? And at the end of the day, I win. I have great relationships with these people. So that to me is the underpinning. What do you need to be successful? And if you're a part of my life, that's my job. I got to go do that thing.
What if, as a leader, they took that approach, that servant leader? So someone listening right now goes, I love that idea. I want to do that. What if that person is in the middle and the needs of the organization is one thing, but the need of their team is something different and they are in conflict with each other? How do you as a leader navigate that?
Oh, I got to go to my values, right? I have to go to my values and I have to say, is my value to come through for my team more important than coming through for the organization? Is there a way to get those two values not in conflict? Okay, and then I have to do the thing that feels the best or right for me, not even the best for me, because that's not true. What feels right for me? You can't live in conflict with your values, right? That's a hard life, and that life is going to catch up to you. And I would say this as well in servant leadership, if somebody is listening, I just want to make this point. It's not at a cost to you. That's called codependence or some issue, right? I don't serve others at a cost to myself. I understand that I am the person that makes my life move. I have to take care of me and what's good for me spiritually, social, emotionally, physically, mentally. I have to come first in my life. So I'm not going to serve this organization and never work out. That's at a cost to me. That is not a good decision. And so there are times when, hey, it's best for the organization to do something. I'll give you an example. We closed down for COVID. Closed down. We had to make some really, really tough decisions here. Really tough. Who do we furlough? We knew there was going to be no revenue. We didn't know how long. The organization made a decision that for the sales leadership who could not sell, we were going to take 20% of the commission as an average for the last 4 months, and we were going to pay them. So that's the company's money, the profit, and we were going to pay thousands of people. At Cydcor, we had to make decisions around who are we going to furlough or we're going to lay off for now? Who are we going to keep? Everybody took a pay cut. Everybody. And the leaders of the business made no money for as long as we were shut down. Then you look at your values and you say, okay, I want to win. I want to make money. Of course I do, right? But my value for creating opportunity for generations and taking care of more people than just myself overwrites that value. So that's what we did. Tough decision. Oh, I have to lay off some people at Cydcor. It was brutal. It was the worst day of my life, March 16th, 2020. I'll never forget it. The worst day of my life. Now, I could say that's in conflict with my values. I never want to let anybody go, ever. The longevity of the business was more important, and being able to bring those people back if they were available. We had to last. That was more important.
I mean, that's a really difficult conversation to have. How did you get yourself ready for that?
I don't even know. I mean, I was really honest with people. I was emotional, and I try not to be that emotional in those settings. I was emotional. I had a great team around me at the time. They were there for each other emotionally. I don't know how you get ready for that. I never thought that day would come. Never. We're entrepreneurs where it's a privately held business. We thought we were in 100% control. I learned a lot. I did learn a lot, but it was brutal. People we loved, but we were honest. We communicated often. We gave people the information that we had at the time. We didn't try and make things up, right? We just didn't know. We don't know what's going to happen. We are going to help and take care of the people that are necessary for the business at Cydcor, and then our sales teams, because they are the lifeblood of the business. And as we get information, we'll let everybody know what's happening. And I think, some things we also did, which were great when we came back and the business started doing better, those people, especially our entry-level people. I mean, I think some of our people, we said, hey, you got to take a pay cut of 25%. Yeah, I mean, you're in California. That's brutal. And some of our people, we just said, hey, we're doing better as a business and we're back. And we gave them back that money. Now, again, values-wise, I want to be super profitable. I want to take care of my people, right? They could be in conflict. Oh, no, we are going to give them back that money. What an awesome feeling. It was a great thing to do. We came through.
Two things that you said there that people listening could learn from. One is when it gets to difficult times, it's increased the rate of communication. And the second was being profitable in the short term versus investing to be more profitable in the long term.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it turned out. That is exactly how it turned out. 2023 will be our best revenue and profit year. 2020 wasn't that long ago. So it is an incredible story. I think it's a story of a business and founders that did the right thing.
So you mentioned as well that obviously you laid off people. How many, if you were going to benchmark it, did you lay off?
I think it was 60% of the organization.
Of those, how many did come back? 'Cause you said about bringing them back if they were available. How many did come back?
I think we were about 25%. Now, some people had gotten other roles. Some people, the work changed, right? They're like, I want to be 100% remote. And we were like, nope, that is not what we want for our business. But people landed well. So I'm really happy about that. They landed well.
Because it's interesting to be on the other side of that, being laid off and then wanting to go back to the business that laid you off. That sort of tells you that you did it the right way.
Well, I hope so. I hope we did. But we did. We brought people back. Some people never got over that feeling. What a brutal feeling. And I understand that. I don't fault anybody. It was just brutal. I mean, that was just, ugh. But then when we were like, hey, we're back. What are you doing? Are you into coming back? And a lot of our people were like, yes, we are.
You've just had record-breaking profitability this year, and you're going into next year, and you were saying that next year's a hard year going forward. What challenges have you guys set as a business then going into next year that's going to make it tough?
I think it's going to be a great year. I think we just have big goals. Like, it's going to be a harder year. We set our goals really high. We set goals around revenue. We set goals around profitability. We set goals around pay for our salespeople. So we want to increase that. We're a pay for performance model. So we have some really aggressive goals there for the commissions we're paying out. I think that piece of the business, I think we have covered. I think innovation, what's the new industry we're going to tackle? What's the new skill set we need to develop? That's where we're going to really press hard. I don't know if it's going to be a hard year. We got to figure some things out. We got to try some new things. We got to make some investments in innovation and new industries that we can sell into.
So looking into the long term, you obviously got identified as a future CEO. So there was almost this legacy plan put in place 20 odd years ago when you started. Have you got a legacy plan in place for you?
It's interesting. I think if you were talking to Gary, there were a few people that maybe he identified then. There's some really incredible people in the organization. And, 20 years from now, I could see this person, or this person. Yeah, I do. I do have that. We have some really talented people here, both at Cydcor and in the field. They're incredible people and they're just coming into their own. We're a newer executive team. We're 3 years in. And I think that the business and the executive team is only going to get better as we just operate together. But yeah, I do. I have about 3 or 4 people that, as time goes on, and if they're willing to put in the work and learn, they could be CEO. And I feel good about that. I feel really good about that.
Are you putting anything special in place for those people? And if so, what?
Yeah, I think each individual has their own development that they need to do, right? And what I tend to focus on again is what are your incredible strengths and how do you double down on those? So that could be, what groups do you need to join? I remember for me about 7 years ago, I joined a group called YPO, Young Presidents Organization. It really helped me with my development and leveling up, just being around those people. So I think like that. Okay, what group do you need to join? Who do you need to be around? What kind of information do you need access to? What kind of business experiences have you not experienced yet that we need to put you in that role? If you're the CEO of this particular business, you need to be able to speak to a client. You need to be able to negotiate with a client. You have to be able to get the client's plan and execute it. Okay, so if you don't know how to do that, we have to give you that experience before you're in that role. So where you sit in the organization, you either have it or you don't. If you don't, we need to get you some. You have to have an incredible relationship and you have to be able to impact our sales leadership and our sales teams. You have to. It's a piece of the business. It's just, you have to know how to do that. So if you're not in that role, you've never touched that piece of the business. Well, if I'm thinking I'm going to be CEO for another 7 years from now till 7 years from now, I need to get you into that experience. So for each of my team members, right, I have kind of those plans. And then I have to think about, just like I had to think about for myself, where am I weak? And who's going to shore them up? Like, who's going to shore me up? Right? Again, I'm never going to be the financial modeler of the business or the projection person. My CFO is amazing. He is incredible. I have to shore up some of the things I'm not great at. And whoever the CEO is next, we're going to have to do that same thing. Right? You're really strong here. We need to get you these experiences for our business. Great. And then where are you not so strong? And where's the talent? How are we developing that talent? Right? Because it's never one person. One person doesn't run a business. It's the team.
I really like what you're saying there in terms of, it's almost like maximizing where you're good at and making sure you have a well-rounded team there, because, if you're a really great 100-meter sprinter, you don't suddenly start learning how to jump.
Right. I always think about the relay. You got the person who's going to get the team off to a start. They're never the end of the relay. Okay, they're the power. They're going to come out running. And then the end of the relay, man, that is your sprint. They're going to give you everything they have, short period of time. Well, I want everybody to be really great at what they need to be great at. Again, as CEO, I got to kind of know what everybody does. Like, I have to understand the financial. I have to be able to ask questions, but it's not my thing. I know it well enough, but I'm not going to be the wizard. But I want the wizard. I want that person in my corner. I want that person with me.
So in terms of your people that you've identified, do they have different skill sets that could complement each other, or are they almost vying for one position and then each of your other members of your leadership team, they have their own people?
I think as a leadership team, we all complement one another, where some of us have similar strengths, but I think the person in the role is strongest in that role. Now, the people I'm thinking about, we'll see. Who on this leadership team is going to be around in 10 years? Who knows? So we'll see. So now we're looking at, okay, who are the candidates and who's going to do the work? Because that's another thing. Gary could have said to me, hey, do you ever think about CEO? I never do the work. I'm not talking to you today. It wouldn't have happened for me. So, okay, who's going to do the work? And then who's going to be around? And then there's other talent we're either bringing into the organization. So then you have newer people, people with different skill sets, then you have kind of a component of what will the business need in 10 years? Because that changes, right? There's a lot going on in our world that it's like, man, I think different kinds of talent are going to be necessary that we need to bring into the business and learn from. How's sales going to change? How's that all going to get automated? Or how do you leverage technology? You're going to need that brain. But I do think the role of the CEO, probably the number one role, you have to make sure succession, they have to be better. You have to put that team in the place to be able to be better. I think a lot of leaders, and I don't know why, they don't do that well. Right? A lot of times you hear, oh, this person had to come back and be the CEO. What happened with that succession plan? And I've never done it. So again, I'm not criticizing. Maybe it's the hardest thing to do, but doing that right is really important for an organization. And you can see it just even in the news, right? It's like, oh, so-and-so had to come back to run X company. Oh, wow, what happened?
I mean, there's multiple problems that come around in terms of boardrooms. One is people promoting people just like them, people who think the same, and therefore the lack of diversity. And the other one, as you said, is this whole succession planning. I can imagine that is a very tough thing to do because there's lots of things that you would do naturally and you don't even think you do them. But then, how do you train someone in that? So in the first case, how do you ensure that you've got a diverse team? And in the second case, is there anything that you are thinking about in the next 7 years? You've mentioned 7 years that you might put in place.
There are a few things. I think I listen for things like if everybody's saying the same thing in a meeting, we're screwed. So who's the naysayers? Who are the people that disagree? So I look for that a lot in my executive team, right? Because I'm aware I have a really strong personality, really strong. I say things as if they're fact, although I know that they're not, but I say them strongly. So it'd be easy for somebody to say, okay, well, that's what she thinks, so that's what we're going to do. So those are my own things, just in my own mind. I'm like, you got to be careful of this. You have to be careful of this. But I have enough people in those meetings, Chris, that are like, no. Half of my team are female and then half of my team male, right? So my female always, well, have you thought about it this way? They say it a little differently. They push differently. And, the guys on my team are like, that's dumb. Don't do that. Okay. But if I never have that kind of conflict, if I never have that kind of dialogue, I'm not in a good place as an executive. Then we're all very aware we don't have anybody on our team that is an expert at AI. I think a lot of businesses don't. I don't know how to hire for that talent, but I do know a lot of people who are consulting around that skill set. They're in our meetings. Come, please help us think through this problem. Help us think through how as a business we have to get educated because nobody on this team knows the answer. How could we possibly know the answer? And then for my field leadership, the diversity comes from we have different people on different programs. We have different people at different levels in our business, right? On the sales side. And we're constantly asking, what do you guys think? What are you thinking here? What are you thinking here? What should we be doing? What aren't we doing well? We're constantly in the organization getting feedback. And some of it's brutal. Some of it's like, you guys are not doing well here. Okay, let's go fix this. So we try. That's how we get the diverse kind of brains.
One of the things you did say there, which was interesting because it actually links with a conversation I had with a friend a couple of weeks ago. You said that you got half your leadership team's male, half are female. And something we were playing around with in a conversation was a masculine approach to leadership and a feminine approach to leadership. How do you see that playing out then? Because it can almost be a bit sort of conflict in terms of approaches to leadership.
It's very interesting. I think we have both in us. Every human has both in us, right?
Yeah.
I think if you were going to ask somebody about me, they'd probably tell you I was more masculine than feminine. Just very direct, to the point. And I may have had to learn that just when I came up through business. I think we learn from one another. I don't see it as conflict so much, mostly because at least on this team, they call each other out on it. I'll hear a woman say something, the man will say something, the exact same thing, but somebody will call them out. So you realize she just said that. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Oh, okay. Because I think a lot of these traits we don't know. We don't see. We're blind to them. Right? I find men validate men's responses more than women validate women's responses. I think it's fascinating. A woman will say something and we're not as quick to say, man, that was a great idea. But dudes, oh, they do it. Yeah, that was so awesome. What a brilliant idea. The dudes will do it for the dudes. But I don't know if that's conflict or just what we've learned. It's just what we've seen.
Do you think that the masculine approach could be very scary in a sense for a woman coming through? Or do you think that women are happy? Because I think boyishness, that can be quite overbearing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer, right? Because I think when I came up through business, right, think 50, I think men dominated. So I needed to be different in order to be included. Right. So it's a very hard question for me to answer. I don't have the perspective of a brand new female leader. I was like, if you want to be a leader in an organization where there are a lot of men and it was male dominated, then you have to be different. Your instincts. And who was I watching? Yeah, you're going to be dominant. You're going to be direct. No, I'm sure a lot of women they were like, I'm out. I don't want to be different, or I don't know how to do this. I think that did happen. Now, today, I think there's a lot more women in business, a lot more women we can look at. But I don't know how they feel when you walk into a meeting and the first 15 minutes you're talking about football. I know it pisses me off, right? It really pisses me. I'm like, I don't care about football. And if a bunch of women started this meeting and we started talking about makeup, like that's inappropriate. It's just inappropriate. It's just not appropriate for this meeting. But how you feel if you're 25, 27, 32 coming into that meeting, does that intimidate you? I don't know. It's a great question, though. I think men are getting smarter about being a lot more inclusive and being a lot more inclusive on, hey, what are the topics we're talking about so that the majority of people can chime in. And I think it's also up to leaders to call some of that stuff out. It really is. It's fascinating to me. And I've done this in meetings where I have half female, half male, and I'll write down how many times somebody says good idea. With just tick marks for the boys and one for the girls. That was a great idea, boy. That was a great idea, boy. That was a great idea, boy. Girl, not a lot. Could be we didn't have a good idea in that meeting. I don't know. But I also think that's just, I don't know. I think it is masculine, feminine. I think something different is going on there.
It's interesting, the example you said earlier as well, where a woman has said an idea and then the man has said the same idea afterwards. And just having that culture to say, oh, she already said that. That's what she put forward.
And I think that happened is because it drove me nuts. Right? It just would drive me nuts. I'm like, what? Am I speaking English or am I speaking Yugoslavian? Nobody understood what I just said. Did I say this in a different language? I'm almost 100% sure I said that. Now, there were times in a meeting I could never call that out, right? I'm not going to say that. So when I see it happen in meetings, I'm like, you realize she just said those exact same words. No, I didn't. Okay. And I don't think it's conscious. I don't think there's bad intent. I really don't. And I find a lot of men, when you point it out, they're like, no, I didn't even realize they did that. Okay, you may just want to. And I try and be funny.
I guess in the same sort of respect, in talking about meetings, in terms of putting forward ideas, how do you stop the same people being the ones that always just put their idea in and very strongly about their idea? Because that's a very masculine trait as well. It's like, this is my idea and I'm not going anywhere. Whereas for a feminine approach, it may be actually, I'm going to sit back, let the ideas come out, and then I'll put my idea in, and they don't get a chance to say anything.
We try and go around the horn, right? We try and go around the horn. We have some rules around word economy, right? Hey, if somebody already said the idea, I don't need to hear it 3 times, 1 time. If you have nothing to say, that's okay too. But in meetings, if somebody hasn't said anything, I would call out, hey, Crystal, what'd you think? I really have nothing to add. Cool. Well, you know what? I was kind of thinking about it this. Okay. And then the dominance, like, so what I try and do, because I am dominant, is to not say anything until the end. Right? Because again, I know I come off so strong. I'm like, I'm going to kill this conversation. And the more passionate or tied to the topic I am, the worse it is. So I try and model that behavior. I try. Sometimes I'm great. Sometimes I'm not. Depends on what the topic is. But we do try and go around the horn. So Chris, if you and I are talking and I haven't heard from you, right? If you're in this Zoom meeting or, face-to-face, I'd say, hey, Chris, I haven't heard from you. What are you thinking? And then hopefully what that does is it draws people out. It makes it okay. But we had to work on that. We definitely had to work on that.
I like what you're talking about as being the most senior person in the meeting. You are leading that meeting. You are making sure that everyone is participating in that meeting and no one's time is being wasted.
There are times when we'll be in meetings and the team's really good about this. They'll stop. What are we all doing here? What decision do we need to make? Do all of us need to make this? No. Okay. This could be a 5-minute call. And we're really trying, Chris, like one of the things, it's like, does it always have to be us to make every decision? Who owns this? Can we have other managers in here so they can learn? So these are the challenges where we're constantly challenging ourselves with, is this the right structure? Do we all need to be here? Time is our most precious commodity. So are we maximizing it?
I like as well what you said with you try and talk last if you're the most direct person. And I think that's also quite important for leaders listening to understand in terms of meetings, is the weight that their words and ideas carry just purely because of the role that they play within that meeting. If they were to open it up with an idea, likelihood is that would squash everyone else's idea. So by speaking last, it gives room for them to put stuff forwards and you to go, actually, my idea was not right.
I have had so many times, Chris, just in my career where I come out strong. And then somebody will say something, well, you wanted this. I was like, no, I was just saying something. And if you thought it was dumb, why didn't you tell me? Well, no, you were really into this idea, really passionate about it, or you had a strong opinion. And I'm like, crap. And not because they didn't say anything, more we missed the moment. We missed doing the right thing. We missed the idea. And again, it depends on your leadership style, right? Some people who talk tentatively, their words, there's room, and I'm trying. But again, I don't think I'm going to be great at that. I speak with passion. So then I have to shore up my weakness, right? And my weakness is I need a team around me that's going to hold up a mirror and say, bullshit. Okay, so I need that. And then I need to go last because if I go first, like you said, I'll take the air. Okay, I can't do that. We won't get the best ideas.
But it's working around your strengths, like you said, rather than trying to change who you are, it's working to adapt with everyone else so that you don't kill creativity in the room with your idea.
Right. And I try really hard with my team. Hey, push back. Just push back. If you think we are not going down the right path, push back. I know I have strong opinions, or I speak in that way. But there are times, and I think it's really funny. And there are a few people in that meeting. They're like, no, that is dumb. I'm like, okay, let's not do that. It's dumb. Okay, let's do something else. So I think that modeling too is also, if you could do it publicly, if you do it in front of people, if you do that with mid-level managers, then people are like, oh, you could push back. It's okay to push back here.
You're almost encouraging that culture of courageousness from anyone, whether it's the lowest level employee and you, if they're going to turn around to you and say, it's a rubbish idea. It's like, okay, I'm here to listen.
Oh yeah. Some of the conversations I've had, even about remote work, and they're like, we love remote work. I'm like, I know you love it. I hate it. We're back 3 days a week. Why did we have to come back? And just very honestly, I don't know how to lead and create culture and connection with everybody remote. I just don't.
But by having the 3 days, you've accommodated. So you haven't gone fully 5 days.
No, because it's important to some of our people. It's really important that they get their time at home. Hopefully what we've done is the quiet work, the thinking work, that's where they're doing that work. But here we're doing the collaboration and we're together and we're building the bond. I hope. But again, to your earlier point, I don't think we figured that out perfectly. It'll probably be a long time till we do.
I want to circle back a minute to something that I sort of made a note of as you were talking it through. As we were talking through the succession plan and what you've put in place for the people that you identified, just because it might be interesting for our listeners, as you went through that, I wrote down 4 bullet points that cover the things that you said. And it's really interesting the order that they came in. So the first one was almost making sure they had the knowledge to do their job. The second one was to make sure they had the skills, which is obviously building on that knowledge and being able to do it. And then it's the people that they're around. So like the circles they're within. And lastly was the opportunities you put in place for them. And I think that's a really nice, almost development plan that anyone out there can implement. Is, okay, how can I help them get the knowledge? How can I make sure they get the skills? How can I make sure they're around the right people? And how can I give them the opportunities to learn? And it's just a cycle that goes through. So have you actually put in place development programs that sort of go through that? Or is that just something that naturally you've come up with and I've just summarized it for you there?
I love that. I'm also going to write that down. So I think that is our program. That is that monthly plan. That is 100% what we do. 100%. Okay. We have some great managers here. And one manager we've identified her. I mean, she's a stud. She is incredible. And she will run operations. Okay. That's a, maybe a year or two. She's gonna run all of our operations. She's just a killer. Okay, well, what does she need to learn? Now we got to get her managing people. That is just how we develop people. Then who does she need to get around? Okay, I want her to have one-on-ones with this person and this person. There's probably some operations, either podcasts, books, classes. Okay, well, let's go get her exposed to those things. Yeah, I just think it's natural, but you did summarize it really well. But those are our PDPs, like their personal development plans. That's how we think about it. Who do you want to be a year, 2 years from now? And then how do we get you there?
Do you have much in terms of coaching within the organization then?
Well, I have a personal coach. I think we do a lot of peer-to-peer coaching, and we do mentorship programs. Coaching in the field, like the sales side, daily, probably hourly coaching, because it's like they have, and I love it. I do, we do, you do. I do, we do, you do. So that's a constant cycle of coaching, which I love. Here, so as a manager, I'm coaching you. We do a lot of peer-to-peer evaluations. We do a lot of even interdepartmental. I'll give you an example. We have this woman that I just adore, Marlise. Hey, Marlise, I want you to spend some time with Kelly, or I want you to spend some time with Crystal. These are people that have done what you've done, managing people. They're going to have a lot of information for you. And so then they set up their own coaching times. But we are very hands-on in that way.
How do you distinguish between coaching and mentorship then? Because you said you've got mentorship programs in place. What's the way that you as an organization have defined coaching and defined mentoring?
Coaching is around the skills, the knowledge, and the experiences, I think. Mentorship, I think, is around more whole people. And I have this beautiful example. Our CRO mentored a woman here around personal finance. I don't know that you'd get that at work. He's just great with money. He's great at making money, which is awesome. And he turned her situation from, I think, maybe $25,000 in debt. A year later, over $10,000 saved, debts paid off. Went through her personal budget. You know, they checked in all the time on just, hey, how are you doing? How's this going? Worked with her on how to get her bills down. I want you to go renegotiate this bill. So that to me is like whole people, different skills. It might not be completely a work skill.
That's a really good sort of thing to have for just well-being. I haven't heard of that many organizations that have mentorship encouraged to that level.
Well, I think it's because we love our people so much, right? We love them. So if you want to be part of this program, what we try and do is match the person with somebody that they want to be around. And then hopefully it works out, right timing works out. And we're very honest about it. Hey, our CRO is super busy. He's going to step out of the program this year, or he's going to step back in because he really wants to connect with one of these 4 candidates. But we care about our people, and we're all like strong at different things, not just at work, like in our lives. So hopefully, you can give back in that way.
And that's that family-centered thing that we said right at the beginning in terms of the culture. And in a way, I can almost see that's a reason why some of the people that you had to lay off during COVID would want to come back, because of that culture. You kind of want to be somewhere you feel like you belong and that genuinely care about you.
Yeah, just people helping people. I think it's the way we live. So if I can help you, I mean, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Right? If I'm great with money or great at saving or great at negotiating a car payment, okay, well then why wouldn't I help you? We work together. We spend a lot of time together. We spend a lot of time thinking about the same business and people and problems. Yeah, why wouldn't I help you?
One of the things you said there as well, as we were going through coaching and mentoring, is you said the approach of I do, we do, you do. And I've heard that before, being in and around education. It's a very classic way of learning. I feel like that can almost actually be built upon for legacy. If you're talking about like people going beyond, is the idea of like, I do, we do, you do. Now you do it with someone else. So it sort of like passes that on.
I love that.
So I think that's something that listeners could definitely take on, this idea of, I have a load of skills, knowledge that I want to pass on to someone. Okay, well, now you have responsibility to pass it on to someone else.
I love that. Yeah, I'm just making my own note here. Right? Because what do they say? If you learn something and teach it, you have a way better chance of it becoming part of, who you are, or your knowledge or skill base.
I can't remember who it is, but it's the idea that even within a classroom, within a lecture hall, the person who learns the most is always the teacher, because they're the ones teaching it. So therefore you master it by teaching it.
Oh, I love that.
And also the idea, I guess, if you can't explain it in a simple way, you don't understand it fully yourself. So that's why teaching it, you kind of master it, because if you've been able to boil it right down and explain it simply, you've got it.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting. And, at least in the field, our sales teams, they do. And their responsibility is then to teach someone else how to do it. So that's great.
And for me, that's in terms of ensuring legacy and ensuring you've got this succession plan, you are almost working yourself out of a job, because I'm training someone to be better than I am. And then if you've trained yourself out of a job, then you're ready for promotion, because now there's someone to fill your space, so that therefore you can go up. Otherwise, why would I move you out of that position? You're the best person there.
Yeah, we talk a lot about that, Chris. 100%. And listen, and I think new managers get stuck there. They want to be the best. They want to be the best. So then they look around, they're like, no, but I really am the best. Okay, well, then you're stuck. You can't move. And I remember in my career, there were a few times I was like, God, I'm stuck. Right? Because that ego wars with just letting somebody else just be the best. It's okay.
Yeah. It's that ego and pride, isn't it? Whereas actually what's needed is being humble.
Totally. Totally. And some people get it, but I find most newer managers, they get stuck. And they'll look around and they're like, why isn't? I'm like, yeah, you're stuck. So you either got to train somebody to be better than you, or you have to go recruit somebody into the business that then you're going to replace yourself with. Your call. But if you don't, this is your law of the lid.
In terms of legacy, not in terms of people or in terms of the team you want to leave behind, but if we were to take you forward to when you're going to step back or step away, what would you like your legacy to be? What would you like to be remembered for within the organization?
I changed the way that the compensation to the field, that is the most important thing to me. The most important thing. It's what I obsess about. I think what we do is so important in so many levels, and our ability just for our people, and I know it's performance based and that's hard work and I get that, but man, they just have just this incredible financial opportunity. Like I've changed that. I think we have an incredible opportunity, but the legacy is that opportunity matches with the finances. So that would be number one. Number two, I help people believe in themselves, believe in what they can do, whether it was through my example or whether it was through a one-on-one. I just left people with more belief. I think it's really, I don't know what happens. I'm not sure what system we put people through. I don't know where people break it down. Just people don't believe in themselves. And I believe in the human spirit. I believe that if you put your mind to something, you can do anything. And if that's the legacy, like, man, I was around her and I just believed I could. That is what I want people to feel.
Why are those the two that you picked out? Belief and the compensation on the front line for the sales team. What is it about those two that speaks to your inner values?
Yeah, I think the compensation piece is just, I think what our people do in the field for our clients is just incredible. And so making sure that matches with this incredible opportunity to become an entrepreneur and run your own business, I think that has to happen. That is what's just or right. And those are my values. What is just? That is a big value of mine. Really big value of mine. And then the belief for me is the value is around just potential. I believe that you have a duty. I don't know how else to say it. It is your job. You were born in like the greatest continent, you can argue, right? Like you were born in the US or Canada. You won the lottery. I do a lot of work with kids in Belize. It's a third world country. I don't care how hard you work. It is impossible almost to get what you can do here. It is your job to just do something with that. And don't settle and be complacent or talk yourself out of things or be miserable. Just figure out how to believe enough, because that's what I think holds people back. They don't believe it'll change, so they don't start. They don't believe in themselves, so they don't put the foot in front of the other to go get the thing. They don't believe that they're going to have a successful relationship, so that they settle for crap. So probably around that potential that it's your job to be the best version of yourself. And that is a core value of mine. It is your job. Now, you may not do your job very well every day. I'm okay with that, but at least you're trying.
That's a very powerful message. I think, to be born into a society where you can.
You can. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, or where you're from. There are so many places that just doesn't exist. And I just, I have a children's home down in Belize, and I look at these people. I look at the director of Liberty, and I'm like, she works 7 days a week. She's constantly on call at that home. She's incredibly intelligent. You don't have those opportunities. She could, if she moved here, she could do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just the luck of the draw. Where were we born? Who were we born to?
Going back to when I said about your story, what's your story, that gave a bit of context to this conversation. There is a large element of your story and your personal journey that coincides with that belief in yourself, because you have moved to a country where you had that opportunity.
Totally. Oh, I know the parallel is not lost on me, for sure, which is why I start my story with my parents, right? I start with that. I am who I am today, and I believe a lot of the things I believe. And I've looked at my beliefs. Do I choose to believe this, or is this just something that they instilled in me and I believe because they just told me to? Like I look at my beliefs and values, and I'm like, no, this doesn't serve me anymore. This does serve me. But they had a lot to do with this thought around this man moves to this country, doesn't know the language, opens up his own business, takes care of, 4 kids and a wife. Kids go on to do great things, good people, has 5 grandchildren. And I'm like, how, wow. So what's my excuse, right? Like, what would be my excuse to going and doing whatever it is I thought I needed to do? I don't have one.
So in a sense, that belief in believing in yourself, that personal belief and value you have, has come from an example that has been, a very strong example from your early life, your childhood. Do you think there are people then that you encounter that haven't had that strong example? That's maybe the reason that they haven't got that level of belief that you do.
Well, I think, yes, probably 100% has to be, right? Everybody's origin story is a little different, so not everybody has this one. So yes, has to be. But you still have to make the choice. Just because I saw my dad do these things didn't mean that I 100% believed that I could do anything. I still had to make the choice. I still had to do the work. And so that's the piece that I try and impart to people. Okay, you got a choice. Believe in yourself or don't believe in yourself. Well, not believing in yourself seems like a not very smart option. But most people don't ask themselves the question. I want to have a great relationship. What does that take? I'm in a crappy relationship. I stay. Most people don't ask themselves, okay, why? What if I just believed that I could find the person? What if I believed that I could have a good relationship? What would I do differently? What if I believed that I could be successful? What would I do differently? What if I believed that I was lovable? How would I be? What if I believed that I was smart enough? And that's the question. And I'm constantly talking about this with people. There's a lot of young people in my business. Okay, but what if you believed? What would you do different? And just walk me through that.
And you're providing the example for them.
Well, I mean, I tell people the story and they're like, this is wild. I'm like, you're telling me it's wild.
So you're challenging their beliefs with your example, and you're challenging their beliefs by interrogating their belief in themselves. And that, I think, by doing what you're doing, you are ensuring that legacy that you said.
Yeah, I think it's working. Like I said, I celebrated my 50th birthday, and I was just like the outpouring, the phone calls and the texts and the emails and the video message. I was like, wow. Not just my personal life, my business life, people at, the kids at Liberty. I mean, it was awesome. And I just thought, I think I get people to think you can.
And that's a really powerful message. My last question then that I ask everyone, if you were to either go back in time and confront a younger you, or faced with a young leader who's just starting out, what's the one piece of advice that you've learned on your journey that you would like to share with them?
If you are doing the right things for long enough, if you work hard enough for long enough, doing the right things, it will work out. It will work out. I spent so much time worrying. I spent so much time like, what if I don't? What if I'm not good enough? What if I can't? What if? So much just stress, right? I just think if you're doing the right things and you're working hard for long enough, it will work out. I don't care if that's your marriage. I don't care if it's parenting. I don't care if it's your business. I don't care if it's your philanthropy. I don't care if it's your side hustle. I don't care if it's your Instagram followers or your YouTube channel. I don't care. You got to be doing the right things for whatever that thing is. You got to work hard and you got to do it for a long time. Right? Nothing happens in, a year, really. Nothing happens in a month. 5 years, it's going to be fine. Everything will be fine if you're doing the right things. You're going to have a good life.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you for a very, very powerful conversation.
It was great. You're really good at this.
I just give you the space to talk. I just ask the questions.
What a great time.
And until next time, remember, to lead requires us to continuously